Hey there everyone, this is InTheDark here once again with another game of StarCraft 2. This game will be a Zerg vs Protoss on sLayed Caverns from the European Masters League ladder. Spawning first in the top right will be the red Zerg. His name is sLayed. He is ranked 24th in the UED Tau division with 185 wins along with 169 losses. That is a 52.26 win percent rate for him. His opponent for this game will be the blue Protoss InTheDark. He is ranked 7th in the Scarab Dixie division with 456 wins and 466 losses, so a 49.46% win rate for our Protoss. Just gonna throw that production tab up there. If this is your first time watching a video of mine, thank you so much for coming to my channel. Thank you so much for giving me a chance. And please let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. All and any advice, suggestions, comments, etc. always welcome. So any sort of feedback is good feedback, I say. And if you do enjoy this video, please subscribe to my channel. It would be awesome of you, and I would love you forever. Alright, back to the game at hand. We have both players just kind of starting out the game, building up their bases, neither one doing anything crazy in the early stages of the game. So let's look at the map real fast. This is sLayed Caverns, as I said. We have this giant chasm in the middle of the map, and I've said it before and I will say it again. This chasm trips up players all the way from lowly bronze to the highest of Grandmasters players. I've seen this happen to the best of the best in the biggest of stages, actually. Say you're trying to move units from right here across the chasm to over here, and what happens is the AI will make half of the units go this way and half of the units will go that way, and your army will end up being split up in half. And if luck would have it and you have bad luck that the opponent's army is, say, right here, then this half of the army will be overmatched by that entire army, and you'll end up taking heavy losses from that half. And when your other half of the army actually joins the battle, it'll be too late, and you will end up losing a lot more than you could have, a lot more than you should have, and you'll be a sad panda about that. So just watch out for that if you are playing on this map. Whenever you are playing on this map, make sure that your units do not get split up and kind of hit and killed when they are separated. Looking at the Protoss player's base, we do have the Gateway and Cybernetics Core going up. This will be a tight wall-in once there is one Zealot out to block off this part of the ramp. It becomes second nature when you're watching a lot of pro videos to know that that's what's going on. But in case anyone doesn't know what's happening, the reason Protoss players in higher leagues do buildings this way, and every building is placed for a reason. Keep that in mind. But in this one specific instance, it's because these two buildings will block off most of the ramp, and then there is enough room right here for one unit to fit, which is where that Zealot goes. And you just saw that drone kind of get through the Zealot, and one fun fact about drones and any sort of workers, SCVs or probes included, is that even if there's a unit, say that Zealot blocking off right here, if you are a drone down here, you can actually click on the other player's resources over here. If you right click to move to one of those resource patches, you will actually blink right through any units that happen to be right here or in your way. So a little fun fact, if you need to get your units to go scout and there's only a unit blocking you, then you can actually blink through that unit if you are a worker. You cannot do that with attacking units. That would be crazy, and that would really make the game ridiculous. Anyway, as I was saying, this Zealot completes the wall-in right here, and just make sure that no Zergling run-bys happen, because any Zerglings that do come up here will only be able to attack the Zealot, say, 1 or 2 at a time. I mean, this Zealot right here is a little out of position because he could get surrounded by like four Zerglings. But if he was like 2 steps back right here, he could only be attacked by 1 or 2 Zerglings, and Zealots are very good when they're fighting 1-on-1 or 1-on-2 with Zerglings. So that is why high-level Protoss players do that. Anyway, we have the hatchery going up for sLayed, going to expand into his natural. That's going to pop very soon, and he will be happy about that when it does. We see some Zerglings running and touching the watchtower and then going across the chasm to see what they can do down here at the Protoss player's base. They're going to sit there at the watchtower for a little bit and then come down to the base. We see Warp Gate about to be finished for our Protoss player, and these Zerglings will see that there is some sort of force over there and decide to set up camp right here outside the Protoss player's main, right next to his natural. We see the army composition for the Protoss player is 2 sentries, 1 Zealot, and 1 Stalker, and 1 probe, being really brave, running out there, and ooh, looks like he was actually sent out there to set up a Nexus, and unfortunately for him, I mean, obviously, InTheDark did not know because these Zerglings were, in fact, in the dark, but that probe trying to set up a Nexus over here got intercepted and surrounded by Zerglings and did end up losing his life. This probe right here, hearing about his cousin's death, did not want to venture quite as far out into the dark because he knows what can happen when you are a probe and you go out into the unknown. But of course he does end up dying anyway. We saw a force field go up right here. This is just to block off the ramp because those Zerglings could have otherwise run by into the main. I'm not sure what these two force fields were doing. Maybe just, accidental misclicks. Not quite sure. At any rate, the Protest player will be able to set up... Oh, wow! The Protest player does actually manage to set up this Nexus, but sLayed right there was trying to move these Zerglings in, just barely missed the timing window to move those Zerglings into the radius of this Nexus that would have blocked the probe from actually warping that in. But one fraction of a second too late, and sLayed was unable to prevent that Nexus from coming. So we will shortly have a 2-base Zerg versus a 2-base Protoss with the Zerg's natural already up and running. We see this nicely saturated, so good work by him, getting drones transferring from the main and also hatching from eggs at the natural. We see a Roach Warren online for the Zerg player, so we'll probably see some Roach play for him. Upgrades coming right now. We have Armor level 1 and Missile Attacks level 1. For the Protoss player, this Nexus is about 2/3 of the way done. In the way of upgrades, I don't believe he has anything yet. Nope, nothing quite yet. We're focused more on other things for the moment. We have his force right now moving across the map, going to probably set up camp at this watchtower, maybe keep going to see what's happening at the Zerg player's base. This force is quite a few sentries. I believe that is 8 sentries, 3 zealots, and 4 stalkers. A little thing about playing Protoss, your stalkers sometimes get a little antsy and move ahead of your other units, so just watch out for that. It didn't matter too much right now because the only opposition they faced was 1 queen. But yeah, just at times, make sure your stalkers don't get overzealous and end up getting out of position. We have the Protoss player setting up some force fields just to protect his units while he goes to work on this hatchery. That probably won't go down right now. The Zerg player will try to keep that up with as much possibility as possible. Wow, that's a nice sentence. Anyway, the Zerg player is now going to be moving in and getting trapped by a couple of force fields. These roaches losing their lives due to force fields. So pretty good force field to use by our Protoss player. Has a lot of energy on those sentries because they warped in pretty early in this game and had time to accumulate that energy. This hatchery is, oh no, not in too much danger of going down right now. Of course, one more considered effort by the Protoss player could eliminate it. And kind of dividing his attention right now between units and that hatchery. Will he be able to get it? It does look like he will. And yes, the hatchery does go down. Broodlings coming in, very angry that their home just got destroyed. Ooh, a Zergling surround, almost getting a surround, but there just weren't enough Zerglings right there to completely surround these Protoss units. As these spine crawlers moving out to try to make sure this Protoss army has to leave, and it will do just that. Trek on back home, satisfied that they have done quite a bit of damage to this Zerg player, killing off that hatchery. Ooh, sLayed with a little bit of anger. I'm not sure if that's BM or just, upset that he lost that hatchery, upset at himself for playing a little poorly in that instance. Looking at the units lost tab, we see that sLayed has reason to be upset, losing about 2.5 as many resources than his opponent has thus far in the game. We'll see if he is able to recover from that. Zerglings and roaches attacking these rocks. Of course, if you have units, you might as well use them because they're not doing much for you if they're just sitting around. This hatchery is about halfway to once again respawning. Its predecessor being taken out by this force of sentries, stalkers, and zealots. We see a forge going up for InTheDark, and what he might be doing here is you see sometimes in Zerg versus Protoss, the Protoss player will actually start off a semi-wall between his ramp and his natural nexus. What that does is just makes it ever harder for Zerg players and Zerglings to run by, because if these buildings weren't here, then they could actually just go right on into the ramp right here and ignore everything that's going down here. But because these buildings are here, they're forced to go all the way around or kind of engage this headlong, which is why you build cannons behind the buildings to make any units suffer for trying that headlong assault. Anyway, we have 2 hatcheries going down for sLayed right now. One of them is going down at his 3rd base, while he has another one just kind of between his natural and main, a macro hatch going up so that he can have more larvae to play with. We see that sLayed is severely losing the supply count battle right now by about 40. Look at the income tab. Yes, he's 10 drones down, and we'll wait for these drones to start mining for that income tab to be a little more accurate. And it does look like he's about 400 minerals behind, 400 to 500, but they're about even in gas. So sLayed has some work to do, but it does look like InTheDark was supply cap there for like a second. He did manage to fix that with a couple of pylons warping in, and he's nowhere near supply caps now, so good work by him. We see this observer. Oh, the observer has already popped. It's across the map, all the way over here. That is now an immortal coming out of the robotics facility. We see a bunch of stalkers right now. It's 16 some of them going to be put to use attacking these rocks over here. We see these two pylons right here. They aren't put there randomly. They're put there to kind of see if there are any Zerg forces coming in from the back. So as I said, these players at the highest level of play do put every building where they put it for a reason. And we're seeing that from the Protoss player right here. He's playing SimCity, but playing SimCity very well and very strategically. Alright, oh, sorry about that. I actually just answered a text. But back to StarCraft now. Looking at the Protoss player's army, we have a bunch of Stalkers, looks like 17, a few Immortals, and some Zealots and Sentries just to top it all off. We see a Zergling coming in here, going to be a pest, but the Protoss player is establishing a third base, a second expansion down here in his third, and we may see a Doom push soon from the Protoss player because he does have quite a fearsome army compared to the Zerg player, and maybe if the Zerg player is able to finish off these upgrades and muster up a lot of forces in the next few minutes, he'll be able to hold this off, but it's looking pretty scary at the moment. We'll have to just watch and see. Roaches coming in trying to do some sort of damage, but they do realize they are outnumbered by these Stalkers, and Stalkers do additional damage to Roaches, so they were in a lot of trouble. We see these Spine Crawlers trying to burrow, but they might not even get in the ground in time because it does take forever for Spine Crawlers to burrow. Yeah, neither of them even able to get into the ground before the Protoss units decimate them and destroy them. We see these Roaches trying to burrow to escape the ire of the Protoss units, but there is an observer somewhere around here that was able to spot them. I'm not sure where it was. It's right there. Actually, it was just kind of attached to the army. We have the Queens brought out to try to assist the Zerg player in defending this, but they will be disposed of as well. So the Zerg player is in a lot of trouble right now. Protoss units all up in his base, just killing everything that he sends at them, and he is forced to leave this game because, well, he was overrun by the Protoss Death Ball, which happens oh so often in games with Protoss players. What we saw that game, I think, was the Zerg player coming down here was able to do a little bit of damage, but never able to do real damage. He was able to delay this Nexus we saw, killing a probe as he was trying to venture out into the dark, but at the end of the day, the Protoss player was just superior, was able to win all those little engagements throughout the early to mid game, and by the time the late game rolled around, was able to take this army and just march right across the map and wipe the Zerg out. So, well played in the dark, and I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you did, please, please, please subscribe to my channel, and if you like any of my videos, please subscribe. I would love you forever, and I'll see you guys next time.